I thought it would be good to just revisit Boomtown and why speed to lead is so important. So let me share the screen with you guys real quick. Some of you newer folks may not have seen this. I feel like Nate and Brandon probably have. But just to have the opportunity to look at why we talk about pausing your leads when you can't be on leads, but when you are, why it's important to be really responsive. Your goal really is within 5 minutes to reach out for them. And the percentage of prospects who end up working with the first business that contacts them is 75%. So you want to be that first person that reaches out. In reality, this is what people are doing. So it's so easy to set yourself apart if you do that, because less than 10% respond within that first 5 minutes. 50% are 5 minutes to 3 days, and 41% is nuts aren't even responding. But then I go and look in our Boomtown and I'm like, well, are we in that 9% as a team, or are we trending more towards this? And right now it's more towards this. So I just want to revisit why it's important to do that. And really, this is why your odds of qualifying a lead drop 400% when you wait more than 10 minutes to follow up. So you're front of mind for a very short period of time when somebody's been on your site and registered on your site. And if you don't connect with them quickly, it drops precipitously your chance at converting them. And that's why speed to lead not only rhymes, but it makes a lot of sense, and why it's really important. And this is kind of what can happen. Somebody registers, you reach out immediately. Yeah, I've got a few minutes to talk. You have a chance to qualify them, get an idea where they are, get them set up on a search, set an appointment for a consult, connect them with your lender, etc. On the other hand, they register, nobody reaches out. They also go to realtor.com or Zillow, or they go to KW or Intracoastal or EXP. They walk their dog and get on social. And then they get a call from somebody on one of those 4 other sites that they've browsed. And then, that lead's dead in the water. So just a reminder why it's important when you have your leads on to be right on top of them. And yeah, we can't always call, but you can always start that qualified drip really fast from your phone in the app if you can't pick up the phone and call really quickly. And at least that gets something out to them really quickly, which is better than nothing. So make that a priority and understand that's just kind of why. Revisiting kind of the processes of the leads. So just to recap, kind of what are the leads and what do all the categories mean, just if there's any confusion. So all the leads come to the site as new, right? And this is where we're aiming for that 5-minute time frame from when they register to start qualifying them. Qualify. After you first attempt, but you don't get them, what do? We move them into qualify. We get their e-alert started, and then we start their drip last, right? To reach out to them. Why? Because we've got this solid plan in place that includes calls and a mix of emails and text messages. Ours is a little bit shorter than 21 days, but it still is pretty comprehensive and hits them in all 3 of those places. And just remember, we also have the drips for people who have a bad email address or have a bad or home phone number to reach them in the other way. So if we can't text them, we email them in that step instead. If we can't email them, we text them in that step instead. Again, it's trying to get a response so we can have somewhat of a conversation and then move them into one of these categories, right? So we've got starting from furthest out to closest in. Watch. 6 months or more away. They're just looking for now. They're out of town. They got to sell their house maybe in another part of the country or world or whatever, or they're waiting for job, etc. You're going to put these on watch. With all of the leads that you're not putting on a drip, it's important that you set your own to-dos and then stay on top of your to-dos, because the worst thing is you qualify someone, you get an idea of their timeline, you have a good conversation, you set them up on an e-alert, you set a to-do, and then you don't do the to-do until a month after the to-do was originally done. And then what happened? oh, well, their time frame moved up. They got their job transfer earlier and they were in town 2 weeks ago and saw a house with somebody else. And now they're under contract. And then you wasted that initial time prospecting. So don't do that. Make sure that you stay on top of your to-dos, but it starts with setting them. For people that are a little bit further out, there are watch strips in there that you can set to help you manage that. In some cases with the watch strips, you want to set your own to-do to come back and start the drip, because you don't want to start the drip immediately because they're not really ready to hear from you again. So we can talk more about that if we want to get more specific, but just to give you a general overview. Still want to make sure those smart drips are going, maybe not daily, maybe twice a week, something like that. Have that conversation with them and ask them what they prefer as far as updates to help them start to explore the market, see how much or what they're going to get for their money in certain areas. That's all about starting to set expectations so they feel good about making the move and understanding what they can get. It will also help you later on overcome unrealistic expectations. It's never too early to start setting those expectations. So the closer step in would be nurture. So these folks are 3 to 6 months away. Not really ready quite yet, but a little bit sooner than watch. You're going to want to talk to these folks a little bit more often. You're definitely going to want to make sure that they have the e-alerts and that they're checking them and that you're getting feedback on them, to make sure you're sending them stuff that makes sense so they can start narrowing down areas or neighborhoods, etc. I personally wouldn't use a drip for nurture. There are drips for nurture. For any of the canned drips in there, you can get in there and look at them and use whatever ones you want. Honestly, I don't mind for the nurture and watch drips. Please use our qualified drips. For the other ones, get in the Boomtown Library and explore. Just make sure you know what you're picking so you know what your folks are getting. And then, of course, hot, which is, we typically say 30 to 60 days, maybe 90 days. Somebody who you know is ready. They're actively engaged with you. They're willing to talk to a lender. Maybe they're already pre-qualified. You've already had a buyer consult. Maybe you've already signed agency, should be working towards agency at least, working with real estate agents. These should not, in my opinion, be on a drip. They should be on an e-alert. The e-alert, in my opinion, should be set to instant because I want them to see things immediately as they hit the market. And I'm copying myself on those e-alerts because as things come across, if I see one that's really good, I'm going to open the link on my phone, copy and text them the link to that house and say, hey, this one just popped up. Did you see it? I feel like it's a really good fit. Just to provide that extra value to let them know that I'm staying right on top of it. Also to monitor what's coming across, because if they're getting a lot of homes and you're not hearing from them, maybe they're really not a hot. Or if you're not seeing a lot of things come across, maybe you need to talk to them about, hey, what can we do with our criteria to put more options in front of you? Because we just don't really have a lot of options coming through. Any thoughts or discussion on that?
One thing that I do for my hots and my nurtures is I make an MLS alert, and I send that to me, especially if people are really specific. I send the MLS alert to me instantly, and then I'll get an email and I'll pull up the email and review the property. And if I think it's something that they would be interested in, I text it directly to them. That way they know that I've personally vetted every property that I'm sending them, as opposed to sending out this cattle call. Because I think with some people, especially if they're particular, once they get far along in their search, when they're ready to pull the trigger, sometimes they don't want to see every home, right? They have a very specific thing that they're looking for, and it just looks better on you professionally. You look like you're doing a better job if you're personally vetting the properties as opposed to just sending everything that hits their search.
I
What
like
do you,
that.
Brandon, what do you mean MLS alert? I don't know what I'm missing there.
Yep. So Ginger, you can set up a search in the MLS, and I'll just give you a real generic scenario: 5 bedrooms in Fuquay Varina below $650,000. Every time a new home is entered in MLS as either active or coming soon, I set that up to immediately get an email. I'll view that property, and if it has the kitchen, the backyard, and the open concept that I think my buyer wants, I'll text it to them. But as soon as that property goes in the MLS, either as active or as coming soon, I'll get an email. So I know as soon as it goes in the system.
Okay, and that's just something you set up through the Triangle MLS.
Yep. Next time you come in, or if you want to hop on a phone call today or tomorrow, I can walk you through setting one up.
Okay, that would be awesome. Thank you.
You can do the same thing on our site and just
Find out.
not copy your folks on the search results, and then just have them come to you directly if you want to do that. It's just going to be maybe an hour later that you get the notification, but it should give you the same result as long as you have the same criteria built. Now you can be
I've been kind of doing that same thing
Yeah,
with Boomtown, and like I'll get the alert that it's hit, and then I'll see that they've looked at it as well, and I send it to them again like, hey, this property came up. Are you interested? So it just kind of double downs on it.
absolutely. Some version of that, just
Yeah.
with your hot folks, to let them know you're on top of it and reviewing things as well, and making sure that they're not missing things that you feel like are a really good fit. And to Brandon's point, I've had clients like this too. I don't want to see everything. Don't shotgun me leads. That's a really good example for when to do that. My personal approach is I'll copy myself on the alert and hope that, we've got the search built, and then I'm texting them when I see things that are really good fits, and just kind of ignoring things that aren't unless I hear from them.
Here's just a personal opinion. Here's why I don't do that. Because I look at e-alerts all the time, and I swear to God that sometimes they miss some of these properties. The Boomtown e-alerts miss some of these properties, even if I have the search set up specifically. So I don't want to roll the dice. I want to review every single one. It takes me half a minute to review the property. And I would rather have the chance to look through it than for some whatever reason, because the listing agent didn't check a particular box or whatever, it doesn't come through in the e-alert, and we miss out on that opportunity.
Well, and that's a good point too, depending on how specific the search is. When I build a search in Boomtown, it's location, bedrooms, bathrooms, garage, square foot. The only other of those things below that I'm using probably are master first floor or master upstairs. That's it. If it does get any more specific than that, I don't use Boomtown for that. And I would 100% agree to use MLS if you need something really specific. Because
Yeah, I noticed.
again, I don't trust the agents to check the right boxes in MLS.
I've noticed that too with Flex and Boomtown. I get a whole lot more listings off of Flex than I do Boomtown. And I just don't know why that is.
I would bet my hat that that's what it is. If something is checked that's really specific in a search in one spot that's not in the other, and it's just not showing up. So that's why I keep my Boomtown e-alerts very high level, not very specific, just the basic bedrooms, everything in that first section, really right under location. That's about all I'll use.
Okay.
Because you get things like granite, fireplaces, and a bunch of things in there that don't necessarily vibe well with MLS. And I think, you will miss stuff if you get too specific in the Boomtown e-alert. So good discussion to have and things to be mindful of. Like if I've got somebody who's looking for like a pool or something really specific, some really specific feature, I'm absolutely using MLS for that when it gets down to crunch time.
Okay.
The real takeaway is make sure that they're coming to you either also or only to you, so you can vet them or at least pass them on and make sure that they're seeing them, so you're providing that extra value. So coming back to our sheet here, before we go to archive, of course, once we get folks under contract, you're going to want to move them to pending, and that's where you add the transaction in Boomtown. Also, as a reminder, when you move them to pending, they get that one email drip that's basically just April's bio video, just so they can put a face with her name and they're probably never going to meet her. They may talk to her on the phone, definitely going to exchange emails, but just so they have a little bit more of a personal feel for who she is. You don't have to do anything to make that happen, start or stop, other than move the lead to pending once you get them under contract. And I will always remind my folks, either during the consult and or once we go under contract, hey, you're going to get this email with April's bio video, just so you know a little bit more about her and how she's going to help us the rest of the way.
Okay, so when we put them in pending on Boomtown, it automatically sends that.
Yep, it's a one email drip that sends that to them.
Okay, I thought that I read somewhere we're supposed to send an information, some information about, introduce them by way of email. So it's good to know that too. I didn't realize that when you put them in pending, it automatically sends them something about April.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And then, of course, after you close, you want to go in and edit the transaction and close out the transaction. You want to move the lead to closed, and then, important, send out the review request. We've gotten several over the last week, and we had a little bit of a lull there, but it's good to send that out there. People look at these. People are using the search agent feature on Zillow to find agents. And, of course, as a new agent, you're not going to have any reviews in there. You want to get as many as you can as soon as you can. And, Brandon's been doing this a couple of years now, and he's really good at driving people to his Zillow. He's probably got I don't know, how many Zillow reviews do you have? 50, 40, 60? Yeah. I mean, that's huge. I think as a team overall, between all of our sources, we've got close to 300 reviews online now. And that's huge because people are looking at that stuff.
Well, and Doug, if you think about just even something like shopping on Amazon or any site, you want to look at the reviews. How do people review that product? So if I see something with 3 stars or barely any reviews, why isn't it? I always, my mind just goes to the one that has the most reviews, more people have used it kind of thing.
People are reading reviews for a $50 product on Amazon. Don't you think they're looking for reviews for somebody that's going to help them make a couple $100,000 decision?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. But you got to build it. You got to send it out there. So when you've got those clients that you had a really good transaction with and you're really confident they're going to give you a great review, prep them for that. At closing, hey, I'd love for you to do a review. Can I send you a link? Would you knock it out for me? We've got a couple of places that we prioritize. All you have to do is copy and paste it. Sure, they're more than happy to do it, but do it right away because they'll forget about it.
I had a closing in March, and me and her, we still communicate, and she's like, yeah, I'll do Zillow. I just checked it. I guess maybe it was yesterday after we were talking about it in our call. And so I sent her a follow-up email with a link saying, all I need is 5 stars and some words like fabulous, spectacular.
Make it easy for them.
That's all I need. That's all I need you to do.
And most people are happy to do it. I think it's important to make that part of your process as you're closing out your deals because it's helping you build your brand and your book of business. And it's another great thing that you can post, not just to sell, but actually words from people. And that resonates with folks. People love to see that.
Hey, Doug, can I add something? I'm sorry, I have to jump off because I got to go over something with a client, and this is their only time to talk to me today. But really quickly, when you go into Boomtown to close out that transaction, move them to close, and you put them to close, you enter the transaction information. That is the time where you need to do a to-do for the next year to make sure you're staying in touch with your client. 2 of my contracts in the last 2 weeks have been past client referrals, and I know that's just because I stay in touch with these people and I'm speaking with them regularly. So what I would encourage you to do is when you move that thing to closed, am I still on here? Yeah, okay, sorry. Yep. When you move that thing to closed, do a to-do, 1 week check-in, 1 week after closing, 1 month after closing, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year closing anniversary. If it's new construction, 10 months to the day after you closed, go in there and put a to-do. Reminder to consider 1-year home warranty for builder punch list. Put all of those to-dos in at once so you don't have to think about finding a reason to touch base with them throughout the year. You've already got it built in into your daily to-dos throughout the year.
That's a great idea for a future best practices, maybe next Thursday. So keep that in mind and we'll game plan for that a little bit more. I like that a lot. Thank you,
Do you
Brandon.
guys get like clients' birthdays, anniversaries and stuff so you can send cards, or is that a little over the top?
I think you do what feels good to you, what's going to come natural and not feel forced, right? I'm friends with a lot of my clients on social media. This morning I sent a client a message. I rely on that really heavily. Some people are more paper and pen. I'm not very paper and pen. I definitely encourage it. I think it's a better touch and resonates better with people. Start somewhere. The important thing is trying to pick something that you're actually going to do. I think that's a great idea, Ginger.
See you guys. Sorry.
Thanks, Brandon. Now, archive and trash, just to make sure we understand the best way to use these. Once people run through the qualified drip, if there's been no two-way communication, they're going to automatically move over to archive. And there's a separate archive drip which has further distance between the touch points, but the archive drip doesn't create any additional to-dos for you to do. That's all completely automated. So, make sure your lead central is sorted so you can still see archive folks and their recent activity on the site, because that might be a good indicator to reach out. You want those archives to show up in your now and your little speech bubble up in the top right-hand corner of your lead central, because if they're on the site, you may be able to get to talk. You might be able to get them to talk to you, and it might be worth a call or a text or something just to touch base and see if you can wake them up. Because if they're on the site, chances are at some point they're going to want some help. And then trash is really, like it says, bogus leads with no valid or contact information. So we've got bad phone and bad email, or they've said, I have an agent that I'm working with and I'm under agency, or they've basically said, I'm not interested in your help. Please don't contact me again. Any of those are the only reasons we use trash. Any questions about those categories and how we put people and change their status? All right, cool. And then the last thing is just kind of having picturing what your lead funnel looks like, right? So we start at the top, just like you can see on the sheet here. It's wide, and we're funneling down to folks that we're actually going to work with and close. So we get those news leads that register on the website, and they'll fall in the new category. Call ASAP. Remember the 5-minute speed to lead and why that's so important, and how the conversion rate drops so quickly the further time goes on. Qualify. We're going to get them on the drip. We're going to call them several times. It's important to make sure that you start the drip last so it doesn't automatically pause after you change the status. From the new, bad phone and email, trash. From qualify, once it runs through that process, it will automatically go to archive if there's been no two-way communication. For both the qualify and the archive, once we have information about them, time frame 6 to 12 months, we're moving to watch, nurture, and then hot, right? And then once we get them to hot, we really want to focus on helping them achieve their goal, get them under contract, and then we'll move to closing. Any questions? If you'll see here, this is where they recommend smart drips. And where does that show up? Qualify, archive, watch, which we all discussed, and then closed. And there is a closed drip in Boomtown if you'd like to use it, which we can explore a little bit more. Any questions about the funnel and how that works and the thought process behind the lead categories and getting them from A to B to C? I think sometimes this visual is just a little more helpful than just talking about it or sitting in front of a computer and moving from status to status. That's all I've got for today. You guys have any other questions about Boomtown or things you wanted to discuss in general or specifically about it?
No, but thank you for the time to show us what you did today.
Absolutely. I think that mastering Boomtown will help you get more out of less work if you really take advantage and make it work for you. And that's the whole purpose of Boomtown, make it work for you to help you convert more people and have more conversations. So go do it. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for stopping in. Holler if you need me.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.